Sometimes I get really down on myself and I feel like I'm not worth much and absolutely useless. Then I remember that Electivire exists, so I'm definitely not that useless, right? Something I really appreciate about Pokemon is when Game Freak goes back to a Pokemon that may have not received much love stat-wise in older generations and try to give them a really solid evolution to make up for that. This has resulted in us getting access to crazy strong Pokemon like Annihilate or Farigiraf in modern formats, but sometimes the real buff a Pokemon gets is access to the item Eviolite. Yeah, as it turns out, some Pokemon didn't really need evolutions as much as they just needed some kind of stat buff, and the Eviolite item does just that for any Pokemon that isn't fully evolved. What I want to cover today is the strange phenomenon of Gen 1 Pokemon ending up better off unevolved due to the Eviolite granting them strange niches in some competitive formats, and I'm going to be explaining why they're better than their evolutions. Should be a shorter video today because I want to start dropping 2 videos a week, one short, one long. We'll see how that turns out in the long run. Anyways, if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, and become a YouTube channel member. Okay, so what causes this phenomenon to occur? Well, it's really simple. Sometimes the evolutions to an old Pokemon just kinda like suck, but that doesn't inherently mean you should use the pre-evolution, as in all likelihood that Pokemon is also quite bad, if not worse. The only time these pre-evolutions see use is when they, and only they, manage to fill a specific niche in a metagame. For example, Dusknoir might have a higher attack stat than Dusclops and higher HP, but it's not worth using as a Trick Room setter over Dusclops when you account for the fact that Dusclops reaches far higher defensive potential and sustainability with Eviolite equipped. That's why you'll see Dusclops like 10 times more often than you'll ever see Dusknoir in a competitive format. However, while this may not be exclusive to Generation 1 Pokemon, they certainly have had it happen to themselves the most in recent generations. So I want to cover those today. We'll start with Electabuzz and Magmar, as they're not only counterparts in Generation 1, but they're also used for nearly the exact same purpose. While Electabuzz and Magmar may have not had any real niche in most prior generations, back in Regulation H of VGC 2024, they did manage to be the only pair of Pokemon able to shut down Sneasler teams. Sneasler is a Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Legends Arceus that loves to gamble. Like, yes, it has great stats, access to Fake Out, and close combat, but the real draw was its signature move of Dire Claw. This is an 80 base power physical poison type move that had a 50% chance to status the target, with each status having a 1/3 chance of being chosen. It either get poisoned, the best outcome for you, paralyzed, the most anxiety inducing outcome, or slept, the outcome that makes me pick up my Switch and go home because frankly you're just kinda mean. So how do we fix this matchup? It seems really anxiety-inducing, and it can be really frustrating for a lot of teams. Well, for a while, the answer was Covert Cloak Terra Water Clefable with Follow Me. But that was too many words, so we shortened it to Eviolite Electabuzz. Or Magmar, your call. Basically, Electabuzz and Magmar both had access to Follow Me, along with the ability Vital Spirit, which meant that they were both immune to the sleep part of Dire Claw. Electabuzz also had the benefit of being immune to paralysis, which meant that if it got statused, it would only ever get poisoned. Magmar was mostly just used for Golden Go melting purposes alongside Clear Smog for Dondozo. Another reason Electabuzz was used over Electivire was due to its higher speed stat of 105, allowing it to outspeed the base 100 Pokemon and slow them down with Electro Web. Had you decided to use Electivire or Magmortar over their counterparts, you'd be stuck using slower Pokemon with far less reliable defenses, leaving them open to getting 2-shot by Close Combat or Dire Claw. It just wasn't worth it. While Electabuzz and Magmar were considered quite the shocking development at the time of their viability, a Pokemon that's been around since the creation of the Eviolite is Chansey. This one comes down to some pretty simple math problems. Chansey was already an absurdly bulky Pokemon, with it having the second highest HP in the game even today in Generation 9. It's second only to its very evolution, Blissey, who was released in Generation 2. Blissey only gets a marginal increase in bulk over Chansey, with it gaining 5 HP, 5 defense, and 30 special defense. It's mostly just used for its bulk combined with its higher yet mediocre offensive stat of 75 special attack instead of Chansey's 35 special attack. Effectively, Blissey is just a Chansey that can sometimes click Flamethrower or Ice Beam, an extremely niche role when there are far better offensive normal types in the game. Meanwhile, Chansey gained access to Eviolite. This 50% boost to both of its defenses causes Chansey to become significantly bulkier than Blissey could ever be, at the expense of not getting to run leftovers as its item for passive recovery. At level 50, Blissey with max HP, max defense, and 4 HP ends up with stats of 362 HP, 68 defense, and 156 special defense, where Eviolite Chansey with the same investment ends up at 357 HP, 93 defense, and 189 special defense. This is considerably higher, with even physical attacks becoming easy to tank thanks to that defense boost. In previous generations, Chansey also had access to Minimize, allowing for it to play one of the most disgusting strategies in the game by going all in on evasion and trying to stall out the opposing team through a combination of Toxic and spamming the move Seismic Toss. It'd often be paired with a partner that knows the move Guard Split to further boost its defenses and make it nearly unkillable. Even when you manage to land a hit through all the RNG, Chansey would easily sponge it and recover back to full health with Soft Boiled. You might wonder, what kind of person would even play this team? A team so reliant on RNG that it would basically never win a major tournament and just ruin some people's days along the way. A bad person. A bad person would play this team. Okay, it's time for this video's tangent. We're just gonna have a tangent in every video because I did not think that I covered Chansey well enough to explain just how strange these teams were. So I just want to talk about how weird and specific these teams were in 2018 specifically. Chansey was a thing in previous formats, but 2018 was especially like a really good format for it because the timer in the games was like a chess timer and it was only 5 minutes each. So it was really easy just to run down the timer on your opponents. So not only were these people playing for like Toxic and like Seismic Toss stalling, but also because once Chansey got set up, all you had to do was just click your moves fast enough. It was just like, okay, you know what, let's just, my moves are getting clicked faster, you're not going to KO the Chansey, I win. These teams were really goofy. Why were they goofy? It was because it felt like they had an answer to everything. There were only a few ways to stop it. So the general strategy, this is like the most basic version of it, is it was Chansey with Seismic Toss, Soft Boil, Toxic, Defense Curl, and you had a Shuckle with Guard Split, Toxic, Infestation, and Acupressure. And what would happen is you would take the average of Chansey and Shuckle's defenses by using Guard Split, right? 310 plus 62 equals 372 divided by 2, that's 186. Apply the Eviolite, 1.5. All of a sudden, Chansey now has a 279 defense stat. 279 with 357 HP, and you would just Toxic and Defense Curl, and oh, you know what? Oh, do you think you have a way around this? Do you think you have a way around beating the Chansey? Are you going to use, oh, I don't know, Perish Song? Because that's like a surefire way to beat Chansey, right? Well, guess what? That's what Mr. Mime was for. Mr. Mime would, you know, he would ally switch around you using like Sacred Sword or whatever to ignore the boosts. But most importantly, Mr. Mime had Soundproof. Soundproof just made it so you couldn't use like Perish Song on it. It would skill swap the Soundproof onto the Chansey if that was your win condition. Reuniclus, Magic Guard. This Pokemon can only be damaged by direct attacks. Skill swap, Chansey, bam, no Toxic. No, maybe I can just stop the Trick Room from going up so they can't set it up at all. Nope, Mental Herb, Carbink. Mental Herb, Carbink. They would Trick Room on you. I don't know. Why do Chansey teams look like this? Look at all the other teams that did well at this event. James Evans, regional champion. Shout out James Evans. You know, it's like Snorlax, Cresselia stuff. And then you have Quentin Cologne, and he had like, you know, Snorlax, Trick Room. We had Rain. And then there was this. And then there was this. Finally, our most recent addition to the Gen 1ers that didn't want to grow up is, strangely enough, Rhydon. While Rhyperior has had a couple of formats in the past where its stats and abilities have caused it to see pretty significant usage, this isn't the case today. Rhyperior was used in the past for its great offenses and bulk, combined with its ability Solid Rock to tank hits better and swing away at the opponent. This was especially powerful in Generation 8's Dynamax format, but today Rhyperior isn't in very high demand. And while Rhydon isn't super common either, it's seen niche tournament usage in Regulation I's dual restricted format. VGC today is riddled with Miraidons that can easily one-shot even the bulkiest of neutral targets with their electric moves. And when they can't one-shot something with an electric move, they just drop a Draco Meteor on its head and call it a day. It's really that easy. You see, both Rhydon and Rhyperior have access to the ability Lightning Rod, which automatically redirects electric attacks into them without them taking any damage. This allows for Terra Fairy Rhydon to not only redirect electric moves away from its partners, but the Terra Fairy variant also allows for it to be immune to Draco Meteor, all while still having access to stab high horsepower off of its base 130 attack to deal significant damage to Miraidon. And because the increase in defenses when evolving into Rhyperior is so marginal, Eviolite Rhydon is able to leverage its superior special bulk to ensure it can tank other special attacks like Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam. But if Eviolite Rhydon's main value happens passively through its ability and typing, and it's mostly just clicking offensive moves, why don't players just run Assault Vest Rhyperior? The physical bulk may be lower, but they'd gain greater offensive potential alongside slightly higher special bulk, right? Well, this may be true, but the downside of running Assault Vest or Rhyperior is that the Assault Vest prevents it from clicking Protect. Protect is an essential move on Rhydon, as it's dealing with far more than just a Miraidon. It's going to be up against Zacians, Zamazentas, Calyrex Ice, and a plethora of other Pokemon that can hit it for super effective damage. And being able to threaten to protect your Rhydon in front of a move that can easily remove it from play is going to be far more important than just slightly higher special bulk overall. There's been a small but not insignificant number of Rhydon players making decent runs in major tournaments with the Pokemon, so it's just another example of the metagame bringing up an old favorite for one last run in the spotlight. But that's basically all I wanted to talk about today. I just find it really cool that Gen 1 Pokemon that gained evolutions still managed to make a splash in modern competitive formats thanks to the constraints of the metagame. But what do you think about these Pokemon? Would you run any of them on your team, or do you have any fond memories of using them? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It'd mean the world to me. If you want to support me further, you can check out my Patreon page or become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button below the video. This gets you sneak peeks at future videos, bonus content, and access to my supporter-only Discord server where you can hang out and team build with other community members. You'll also see your name at the end of my videos like all these lovely people. Special thanks to my most boosted supporters, Avatar67 and Lilith Lilligant, for their generous pledges. Another way to support me is to check out all the videos on the playlist on screen right now. I know you'll find something in there that you'll enjoy. I also have a second channel where I talk about the current VGC metagame trends, and a Twitch channel where I stream, both of which are in the description. Or you can just tune in my YouTube live streams Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. CST. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.